I'm nervous this morning. I don't usually get nervous when I'm speaking to you, but I'm nervous this morning because what I want to share with you is highly personal, and I'm not sure how I'm going to be in it all, so it's a little nerve-wracking. But before I get into that, I would like to invite you to take 1 good minute. 1 good minute is something that I do in all my meetings at work that I learned through a workshop. And 1 good minute is simply taking 1 good minute to ground yourself in being present here and now. So I invite you, if you're willing, to close your eyes and to clear your mind, to slow the chatter. Your mind will always chatter, but slow the chatter and be present. And I will time us for 1 good minute. Thank you. Never knew a minute was so long, did you? Always seems long when you're very, very present in that moment. So what I'm going to share with you today, full disclosure, I wrote it for a women's conference. And the theme was Limitless. And I felt that it was appropriate this morning because as we start a new year, we have all these ideas, these goals, these things that we want to do. And it kind of puts us in the mindset of there's nothing we can't do, except that there are things that hold us back. So, my story begins in the present, and it goes into the past to provide a vision for the future. It's a story about the through line of life and how sometimes the things we see as the worst things that could happen come to save us from ourselves, and sometimes they're our second chance. So it's Wednesday, December 13th, 2017. Travis and I are sitting in the doctor's office waiting. She comes in, sits down, and after the general greetings, she proceeds. Your biopsy results came in and you have invasive lobular carcinoma, a form of breast cancer. That's literally all I remember hearing. As I sat there, Travis is asking questions, the doctor is answering, she's writing things down. All I was doing was having a conversation with myself. It's okay. Listen to what she's saying. Don't get ahead of yourself. It's hard to listen to what someone else is saying when you're listening to your thoughts. I couldn't keep my mind in check? What about the kids? What's going to happen to them? You see, what happened is my mind went from 0 to death. So naturally, I was worried about my children. Vladimir was 11 and Zia was 6. And because that thought was too hard to follow, my brain shifted gears. Oh my God, what are you doing with your life? Are you making the difference you thought you'd make? And the answer came back, no. No, I'm not making the difference I believed I would make. And that was the question that tossed my world. How was it possible that I'd gone 49 years and now, upon learning I had cancer, I was feeling that I'd done nothing significant in my life? The conversations around me stopped, and it was time to go. And as Travis and I are walking towards the door, the nurse comes in. Her name was Lori. I remember because my sister's name is Lori. She looks me in my eyes, and she says, Jesus loves you. I was able to get all your scans for one day, tomorrow. That never happens. You'll also need to go downstairs and get some blood work done. So we leave the office. Travis and I are sitting in the hall, and I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm wondering out loud, what are we going to do? What does it all mean? And how do I tell my parents? Which was a hard part for me. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen to you isn't. After composing myself, I go downstairs, and while I'm waiting to get my blood drawn, I call my sister to tell her what's happened. Lori, I've just been diagnosed with breast cancer. I didn't know it at the time, but she started crying right away. I go through what I can remember of our meeting with the doctor, and then I say to her, Lori, I feel very strongly that this didn't come to kill me. It came to teach me something. I need to stay open to the learning. I've been asked a few times how I knew or why I felt that way in that moment, and the answer is, I don't know. It was just a very deep feeling in that moment. Thursday, December 14, 2017. I spend the day in the hospital getting all the necessary scans. If you've been diagnosed, you know what I mean. No stone goes unturned. They needed to determine if the cancer had spread to vital organs. Friday, December 15, 2017. The doctor calls me towards the end of the workday as I'm on my way to dinner with friends. I got your scan results back. We don't see cancer anywhere else. Our battlefront is confined to your breast. Saturday, December 16, 2017. My family leaves with friends for Turks and Caicos, a vacation we planned a year in advance. And I leave cancer behind for 7 days. I'm going through a timeline because sometimes we fail to acknowledge the through line of life. The through line that shows us how one thing may affect another in what we believe to be totally disconnected parts of our lives. Being aware of that through line helps ground us, giving us a glimpse into the available possibilities. Saturday, December 23rd, 2017, we land back in the United States, and the moment I turn on my phone, it begins to convulse with buzzing. Doctor's appointments, family, friends, messages to sift through. Tuesday, December 26, 2017, I meet my oncologist for the first time, and we decide on a course of treatment that begins with chemo on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018. Remember what I told my sister? That openness to learning began right away. It's as if my senses went into overdrive and I was keenly aware of life happening. I was seeing and feeling things for the first time because I wanted to stay aware and open. Cancer taught me a few things. Cancer taught me the cha-cha. I know it sounds funny, but what I realized is there's a pervasive feeling you get when you've been diagnosed. Some of you may relate. You realize that time is short, so you want to hurry forward. While at the same time, you need to slow down and take care of yourself, relieve your stress. Time is short, hurry forward, slow down, and heal. Time is short, hurry forward, slow down, and heal. Time is short, hurry forward, slow down. The cha-cha. Cancer also taught me greater kindness. When I'm doing my job and teaching people how to have or start conversations around equity and inclusion, I often share about the difference between being nice and being kind. In a nutshell, nice is being in your head, kind is being in your heart. What often happens is when we're being kind, someone else is being nice and blocking that kindness. I'm at the store, can I pick up something for you? No, thank you, that's okay. I don't want to put you out. Are you sure? I'm already here. No, that's fine, thank you. I learned to unblock the blessings of kindness and to accept them graciously. I'm at the store, can I pick up something for you? Yes. We could use some orange juice. We've been fighting colds. Thank you. I did 8 rounds of chemo, had a double mastectomy without reconstruction, and 30 rounds of radiation. From January to July of 2018, I was in active cancer fighting mode. Toward the end of my active treatments, I said to Travis, I want to pursue life coaching professionally. It felt right to want to help others who'd gone through cancer know they could overcome. So I went with that feeling. Remember that question I asked myself in the doctor's office? It kept going through my mind. I had a job I worked and kept throughout my treatments. A job that Travis and I were incredibly grateful for, because when we accidentally received a bill for my first chemo treatment, we just about lost our composure. The first chemo treatment alone cost $30,000. I didn't want to know the rest of that story. 8 rounds of chemo, a double mastectomy, and 30 rounds of radiation. My treatments were done in July, and at the end of September, I was laid off from my job. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen to you isn't. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen to you isn't. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen to you isn't. So fast forward to the fall of 2019, I'm telling friends, family, and anyone who will listen that I want to speak. I want to do some speaking. About what? Well, I want to share my cancer story or give others going through treatment hope. Beyond that was anyone's guess. So I put it out there because that's what pushes your subconscious to find the answers. At the time, I'm building a personal development coaching practice, and I'm driving for Uber. And always staying open to the possibilities. I signed up for a coaching course on how to be a speaker. And the first session is about finding your story. When I was diagnosed, I knew that cancer was part of my story, but it wasn't the story. I never really thought about what was. But here I am, taking this course and having to figure out my story. That through line of life that we often ignore, that's the one I was tugging on. The one that was buried under years of neglect. Every time I thought of a possible timeline, it led to a dead end. Folks, I tell you at this point, I'm thinking, I'm never going to be a speaker. I don't have a story. Here's what I know. We all have a story. It may be tragic, trying, loving, inspiring, whatever it is, we all have a story. So let's go way back. October 1997. It's been 2 weeks since I was admitted into the hospital and started laying in the Trendelenburg position, otherwise known as upside down. If you're a doctor or nurse or health worker, you know what that means. It means instead of laying as we normally do with our heads propped up, my bed is tilted so that my head is down and my hips are up. I was 27 years old and 20 weeks pregnant by a man who wasn't my husband, but someone else's. I'd gone into preterm labor at 18 weeks because a fibroid I had went into degeneration and induced contractions. My cervix was open 4 centimeters and my amniotic sac was hanging through. I was laying upside down to try to get gravity to do its work its magic and encourage the sac to recede. That way the doctor could go in and do a cerclage, which is to stitch my cervix closed and I could continue the pregnancy. But in 2 weeks, there had been no change. And then my water broke. My daughter was born without the ability to survive. Later that day, I sat in my hospital room, holding her tiny body wrapped in a huge, huge blanket. And as I'm remembering that moment, finding my story, I realized the moment I lost my baby girl was the moment my inner light went out. 22 years later, as I'm sitting in the doctor's office, learning that I have breast cancer, that light came back on. My daughter saved me from a relationship I had no business being in. But the trauma, the pain, the shame, and the guilt I experienced held me hostage for 22 years. Then cancer came and said, "It's not your time. What are you doing with yourself? Are you doing what you're meant to do? Wake up!" How have the guilt, shame, and pain served you? They haven't. Let them go. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen to you isn't. Sometimes it's the thing that comes to save you from the guilt and shame you've carried for years. So, as I'm putting the pieces together, I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm flooded with memories, emotions, my loss, cancer, my light, and realizing my story. And I call my sister. "Lori, I thought I dealt with this already. How is it possible that this is what's coming up as I'm finding my story? I can't believe this is it. There's no way for me not to talk about it." Miscarriage, which could be the worst thing, came to save me from myself. Cancer, which could be the worst thing, came to save me from myself. Cancer came to wake me up to the second chance I have right now to make the difference I'm meant to make. What's keeping you from living the life you're meant to live? What are you holding on to that isn't serving you? What's the through line you need to tug on? Going through cancer, I learned to stay open to the help offered to me. I learned to take time to meditate. I learned to take naps as necessary. I learned to surround myself with amazing people who feed my soul. I learned to love and honor myself. I learned to stay open to the possibilities because they're limitless. And I learned to trust myself. What about you? Are you taking time to know yourself? Trust yourself? Love and honor yourself? Are you surrounding yourself with amazing people? Are you staying open to the limitless possibilities for yourself? December 7th, 2017. The day after the punch biopsy in my right breast, and the day before the needle biopsy in my left breast. I'm at the Massachusetts Conference for Women at the Boston Convention Center with friends. It's the end of our last breakout session, and I look towards the stage. It's empty, so I get up on that stage. I ask a friend to take a photo of me up there. Then, as I come down off that stage, I remember saying, I'll be on that stage one day. That was 6 days before cancer diagnosis. before deciding I wanted to coach, before truly understanding why I really wanted to speak, before finding my story. Friends, sometimes the worst thing that could happen to you isn't. Sometimes it's the thing that comes to save you from the guilt and shame you've carried for years. Sometimes it's your second chance. So here I am, almost 6 or 7 years later. I'm restless, but I'm in remission. And I'm standing here telling you my story. Working within my passion to bring equity and inclusion to the workplace and making a difference in the world. I'm driven by the question I asked in the doctor's office. Are you making the difference you thought you'd make? The next time I ask, I want the answer to be a resounding yes. So don't let anyone tell you, and don't you ever believe there's no time. I'm here telling you there is, and that your possibilities are limitless. Our closing